Hey guys, Rick here, bringing you another video. Now today, me and my friends in the fish tank community, we're going to discuss what is the best starter plant. Now if you guys know me and you watch my videos, I'll probably sound like a broken record, but for me the best starter plant, hands down, is Java Fern. Now with Java Fern, they're pretty different from other plants. Other plants, you usually bury them in a substrate. With the Java Fern, they have what we call a rhizome, and with that you just tie that to a rock or a driftwood and they'll do just fine. So guys, for me, Java Fern is definitely the best starter plant. But let's hear what the other guys have to say in the fish tank community.
Whenever I'm asked about a great beginner plant, the first thing I think of is a plant from the Anubis family. And they're a really terrific choice. And basically, all you need to do to choose the right Anubis for you is determine the size of the tank you're going to put it in. Now, you've got really small varieties like the Anubis Nana, which I use in a lot of my smaller aquariums. In fact, this whole side of this tank is one Anubis Nana. So you can buy a small plant and let it grow. I mean, that literally, I went to PetSmart and got a really small pod and put it in an aquarium I had a while back, and it just grew and grew and grew into this. So they like an iron-rich soil, and if you give it that, it'll just grow. It really doesn't need very much light at all. In fact, they do better under moderate light, so you don't have to have a really expensive setup to grow Anubis. There are larger varieties too, like the Anubis Cophophilia, which is in this tank in my 55 here, and also in my 56 gallon upstairs. In fact, my 56 gallon only has one Anubis Cophophilia, and it's already grown all the way around the log and is taking up space on the other side now. It's just starting to kind of crest and come around, and pretty soon that tank's going to be almost one plant, so it's time to trim, obviously. So really the type of Anubis that you want, it's just a matter of what kind of tank you've got. They all grow flowers that are very similar. They have this nice little white flower that comes up with a bloom, and it's really neat. And really what's interesting is they all have almost the same flowers, just they're a little bit bigger with the Cophophilia and then smaller with the Nana, and somewhere in between for this Augustifolia on this side. Alright, well, that's a great beginner plant. It's the one I always recommend. Thanks.
My opinion for a good starter plant, and I'm going to stay true to my roots on this plant because it's the plant I still have to this day in all my tanks, is the Bronze Wenditti Crypt. I really love this plant ever since I first came across it. I got it from having wisteria clippings at my local Pet Supply Plus. And ever since I got it, like I said, I started off with only 3 of the little basket size plants they give you. You know, that nice thick clump they give you for like $4.99. I had like 3 or 4 of those on exchange. And what I did when I came home was it's another reason why I think it's a good starter plant, is it propagates really well. Like I said, a real thick bunch breaks down to about another 12 to 15 plants. As you can see here, my shrimp tank behind me, I just did a water change. I relocated some from my 55 gallon and put it in here. And as you can see, I got about 12 plugs in behind me. One of my originals right here. Also too, it's a rhizome plant like your Anubises. So, you know, it grows off of that rhizome. Like if you leave a piece of it somewhere within the substrate dirt mix, that it would start growing again off that one little piece of rhizome if it has a leaf growing off of it. So that's another thing. It's a good carpeting plant. If you know, with it being relocated, breaking off roots and stuff of that nature, you'll have other shoots coming up out of it. So not carpeting plant as shooting runners, but as in a way of rhizomes being broke off or whatever, keep on growing. So there's my input on a good starter plant. Bronze Wenditti Crypt. Can't go wrong. It's a fired up plant.
What is the best starter plant or beginner plant? And the plant that I usually recommend to my customers when they ask me, you know, hey, I'm starting a new tank, I've never done planted tanks before, tell me what plants grow great in, you know, low nutrient, low light tanks, or without CO2, and, you know, things like that. I almost always recommend Anubias to these customers because, for one thing, I've grown Anubias in pretty much all my tanks, and when I first started planted tanks years ago, I grew Anubias in a tank that had absolutely no nutrients in it. not the proper substrate, you know, as far as, you know, a substrate high in iron or other nutrients, you know. In other words, substrate meant for planted tanks. I was not dosing CO2. I did not have the correct lighting, and amazingly, Anubias still grew. And I knew it was growing because it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I almost always recommend Anubias to my customers and to anybody that asks me what's the best beginner plant or starter plant, because it just seems like Anubias just grows well in pretty much any environment. I pretty much feel that if you give it a little bit of light, it doesn't even have to be the appropriate Kelvin rating. If you put it in a tank that has fish, so it can get maybe a little bit of nutrients from the fish waste, and of course a tank that isn't too hot, because plants really don't like that hot of water, you know. I think it should grow just fine, as it has for me and many other people. So Anubias is the plant that I recommend as far as a beginner plant, or plant that you should start out with if you know, don't have CO2 or don't dose any nutrients or have the correct lighting.
Alright guys, it's your turn. Leave it in the comments below. What do you think is the best starter plant? Share with the rest of us. And as always, rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.